Okay, lesson 6, chapter 0. This is your lesson on multiplying and dividing decimals. Lots of information to cover here, so let's just get started. First thing in your notes, I'm going to talk about different multiplication symbols, and I'm calling these the good, the bad, and the ugly. Good multiplication symbols. My preferred multiplication symbol in 7th grade is that multiplication dot. That's my favorite. Sometimes I will also use parentheses. So let's say I'm trying to do 3 times 4. I could write it like that with the dot. I could use it like this, or write it like this with parentheses. They both mean the same thing, and you will see me use those interchangeably. Another way to show multiplication would be to put a number in front of a variable, like 3y. 3y, if a number is right next to a variable, I know it means to multiply those two numbers together. Bad and outdated. This is really important. We have to say goodbye to an old friend here. We have to get rid of the multiplication x. In 7th grade, we want to get rid of that way to show multiplication because we use an x way too frequently as a variable in algebra. And it gets very tough if you're going to use the multiplication x alongside of variables like x's. So we're going to get rid of them. We're going to say goodbye. No more do we use the multiplication x. All right, how to multiply decimals. I've got 3 rules. Step 1, 3 steps. Step 1, remove the decimals and record the number of decimal place values in a box. I like the box method. I'll show that to you in a second. Step 2, we're going to line up the numbers as normal and just multiply like they're regular whole numbers. We're not going to go over how to multiply. You should already know that. Step 3, place the decimal into your product. This is the step you want to not forget. Don't forget to put your decimal back into your final answer. And we're going to use that number that we're going to place inside the box. Okay, so let's do an example. 8 and 95 hundredths times 52 10,000ths. My first number has 2 numbers after the decimal. And my second number has 4 numbers after the decimal. So altogether, that's 6 digits after the decimal. So that 6 is going to go in a box. Okay? Once I do that 6, once I make note of that, now I can get rid of these decimals and pretend they don't even exist. So my first number, 895. My second number is the whole number 52. Those 2 zeros in front do not need to be written into my problem. Okay, so I'm going to just go ahead and multiply like normal. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 9 is 18. Plus 1 is 19. 2 times 8 is 16. Plus 1 is 17. Now, I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. If you can answer this question, I'll be very, very happy. I do put a placeholder 0 before I multiply by the 5. And the reason for that is because the 5 is not in the ones place. The 5 is in the tens place. That's really a 50. So that's what this 0 represents. It represents the 0 in the number 10 because that's in the tens place. So hopefully you can answer that question tomorrow in class. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 9 is 45 plus 2 is 47. 5 times 8 is 40 plus 4 is 44. And then I'm going to add together. 0 plus 0 is 0. 9 plus 5 is 14. 7 plus 7 is 14. Plus 1 is 15. 1 plus 1 plus 4 is 6. And 0 plus 4 is 4. Now remember what I have to do for my final answer. I have to put that decimal point back into my product using the number of places in the box here. So I'm going to start all the way to the right. I'm going to move over 6 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, now I have an empty bucket here. That means I have to fill it. I'm going to put a 0 right there. I'll just redraw my decimal point. And my final answer is 0.046, don't mind my dog, 540. Now this 0 at the end I can clean up, so I'm not going to write that in my final answer. I can clean it up there. So my final answer here is 4,654 tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 100,000ths. So one more time, that's 4,654 hundred thousandths. Excellent. All right, let's divide. Division symbols, most common division symbol is the division sign, like that. You also know there's a division house. I also want you to be aware that the fraction bar is a division symbol. Okay, so this guy right here, my fraction bar, is a division symbol. That literally means 1 divided by 2. The 1 would go in the house, the 2 would go outside the house, and we would get a decimal. Okay, how to divide decimals, super easy. Move the decimal outside the house. So if you have any decimals out here, we have to move them to the end of the number to make it a whole number. However many places move that decimal out here, we've got to move the decimal inside the house as well. And then we're going to move our decimal into the quotient and do our division. Okay, I have one example for you here. 86 4/10. And I'm going to divide that by 12 10,000ths. Okay, remember the first number always goes inside the house, the second number always goes outside the house. It doesn't matter which number is bigger or smaller. What matters is which number comes first. So my rules are to move the decimal inside the house to make that first number a whole number. I move them 4 places. So I have to move the decimal inside the house 4 places as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know the rule, empty buckets get zeros, so that's 1, 2, 3 zeros. Okay, so I'm going to write my problem over again because I always like to do that to give myself a more clean workspace here. And I put my decimal here and my 12 out here. Now that it's a whole number, I can clean up the zeros out front. And then I put my decimal up into my quotient. A lot of 7th graders miss that part. Now we divide. 12 does not go into 8, but 12 does go into 86 7 times. 7 times 12 is 84. Subtracting it 2. 12 goes into 24 2 times. And I multiply that and get 24. Now, a lot of 7th graders make the mistake of stopping here, but we can't because we have all these zeros we still have to use. So bring down that 0. 12 goes into 0, 0 times. Bring down this 0. 12 goes into 0, 0 times. Bring down this 0. 12 goes into 0, 0 times. And if we want to show our subtraction, we can do that. But you are not finished until you have used every number inside the house. Okay, that's why I put the decimal there to remind us that we need to use all those places. So the final answer here is actually a pretty huge number, 72,000. Okay, that's our quotient. Review those rules of division. This is my favorite type of division problem to give out, one where we have to move the decimal a lot and one where there's a lot of zeros at the end. So please be aware this is a type of problem I like to show a lot in class. It will show up on quizzes and tests and on the next bell ringer.